Okay, it's 8:30, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. And so make sure that everybody who checks in. Okay, hi Bob. Okay, everybody should be muted. You should be muted. Yep. If not, mute yourself. I'm trying to mute everybody. I'm going to mute you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. This is kind of a light week, getting ready for the assignment that has to be turned in. So let's get going with sharing my screen. Okay, so as usual, you see this screen. It contains information about me. Everybody knows that. And then, of course, this additional course information doesn't apply to you anymore because we're now down here. We're at week 8. One more lecture to go, and that'll be week after next. So let's just get right to the announcements and see what the announcement says. Writing a police report. We're going to talk about writing a police report. I've given you an article earlier on in the quarter that helps you to prepare the police report, because we're at the point now where you're going to complete your rough draft. And so we're going to make sure that we cover reported in writing, section 1, A through O in your reading, and section 5, part A. And that's what you needed to make sure you read this week. And then we're going to discuss writing police reports and the 6 questions that are critical for your narrative section. And then your discussion post for the week, the why of a police report, due initial post on Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, and then the reply post due Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Finally, you're going to complete your rough draft of your police report on the crime incident. And so let's get right into looking at what our calendar says here. Let's go right here. Click on that. And there we go, course calendar. And it tells you for the week here what you're doing. I just went over the reading assignment, your initial post, the lecture, the reply post, and then your rough draft. That is due today. Okay, not due today, due this week on the 26th. When I say today, is what I'm pointing to. So the 26th is when your rough draft is due. Now, going back to the module for the week, here we go. Again, your assignments, your rough draft, and you make sure that when you've done your rough draft, this is the first time that your front sheet of your police report. I kind of talked about this in week 6. Actually, I gave a lot of details about it. And then the big portion, your narrative section, that we're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then why. And then your conclusion, recommendation, final disposition. These are all the things that should be in your report. Now, it's important that you get this done timely so that I can grade it and get it back to you, so that in week 10 that you'll turn in that final draft. And I remind everybody that, go back to week 7 for a minute. When you do that, again, making sure, let's find this week 7, making sure that you do see this. Right under the bottom where it says to begin on police report, that was last week, and make sure that this report is clicked on and you're using this for your draft. You're going to use this for week 8 and for your week 10 assignment. Let me go back to editing. Okay, there we go. And it shows you what it looks like, and then it's a Word document, and you can manipulate it and type it. And remember now, as I said before, and I'll say it again, that you're going to fill in the information here as much as possible. I don't know why my lights are blinking here. There's a little rainy in the area here. And then, so you got, if there's no suspect, remember what I said, suspect number 1, you fill in the information, but if there's no suspect, you leave that section out completely. You fill in the witness information with the number of witnesses. If there's only 1 witness, don't put number 2. If there's 2, don't put number 3. And then you fill in the information here. And then the types of evidence that's collected goes right in there. And then the chain of custody. Remember I talked about the chain of custody involves going through and making sure that you indicate where you found each item, that you tagged it, what you did with it, and then afterwards that you turned it over to whoever is supposed to receive it from that particular point. And also you list the property items that are recovered as well. And then your narrative. Now, you don't have to type this in. You can actually eliminate this part here. You just start typing your narrative section in. But you know that the details are who, what, when, where, why, and how. I don't want to see a caption in your report that says who and put under that, what, when. I don't want to see that. But that's the issues that should be covered to present the proper detail for the narrative section. Again, I'm just skirting over it because I went over it more in detail last time we had a lecture. And then finally, your conclusion. Now, it's at this point in place that if there is no suspect, you point that out and then explain, the investigation continues or something to that effect. But this is the form that you must use to complete your week 8. Very important, because a lot of students say, oh, I can't find it. Well, there it is, right there. All right, so let's go back to week 8. Okay, and so again, repeating your assignments with all the details that I just went over a few minutes ago actually covered exactly what's here in front of you. Now, any questions about what's expected in the police report, Bob? You have any questions? Okay, good, good. I think you were here last time, so you know all the details. I went over more in detail last time. And, I remind any student that wasn't here that you could listen to the archive from week 6, put that together with this brief lecture today, and you'll be good to go to get that assignment in, okay? Because remember, for the last couple of weeks, you've had some pretty light assignments, especially last week. All you had was a discussion post. Suspect information, should we leave it blank or delete the section? Yeah, you delete it. If there's no suspect, just delete it. That's what I was saying a few minutes ago. Make sure you delete that information. And then, as I said, when you get to the conclusion, at the bottom, recommendation, final disposition, then you can, was an arrest made, that's where that stuff goes with recommendations, and so forth and so on. The point of the matter is that what you want to do in your conclusion is let us know what the next step is and how far you got it. Okay, does that answer your question? Okay, great. Now, I did share already. I'll repeat it again. I know somebody's going to ask me, what do I do about the information that's not included in the incident report? I already said you can put some fictitious information in there, and I don't really care about it. You can put your own name or whatever, somebody, a John Doe or whatever, okay? And that's it. So it's very important. Put a cover sheet on top of it as well. We're not doing citations and references anymore in this class, so you don't have to worry about that. All right. So now let's go back to this, the lesson content. Okay, we've already done the assignments. So we're going to talk about very important things about the police report. Again, you do have that article, right, that I sent you earlier, Bob? Okay, good. That article is very important, and it helps a whole lot with this week's assignment. And that's why I sent it early on, so you could have a foretaste of what to expect in terms of the project. So police reports are very important. They're very, very, very important because of the fact that they're the one document that can possibly be used as an exhibit in court, and ultimately the police report is going to probably be used as an exhibit, and you'll be questioned about the police report. And as I shared with people last week when I graded, not last week, but week before last, when I graded your incident field reports, rather, your field reports, I made field notes. I made sure that I explained to everybody, take a good look at the facts, because you're going to need those in your field report to be able to, field notes to be able to put in your report, that first draft and your final that you submit in. A couple of students, when I commented and said, take another look at it, they want to know what is it that I might have missed. I was not indicating that anybody missed something. There were some people who did miss some. But the point of the matter is that you want to review your field notes and make sure that your field notes have enough information to help you to actually prepare the report. And so the field notes are prepared from our assignment that we had in week 6 in terms of making sure that you looked at that scene that was given there. So anyway, one of the most important things to remember when it comes to reports are these bullet points here. Write with accuracy. That's why I said it's very important, because your reports, each of you, if a police team is writing reports and then there are 2 different versions of what happened there could be some problems. And I've seen reports that need to be as accurate as possible with what the scene is, or what's taking place, with brevity. Not long sentences and things like that, short and to the point and with clarity. Now, when I say with accuracy, with the advent of the fact that many scenes now have body cams, police officers have, and many departments even that don't have body cams have dash cams, and there are people all around you with cell phones that have cameras on their smartphones. And you want to make sure that you don't find yourself in a situation like I alluded to Laquan McDonald case here in Chicago, where the police officers at the scene wrote reports that contradicted what the video said after it came out, and as a result, it was inaccurate about what really occurred, and it was an attempted cover-up. And what happened was one of the police officers got indicted because he pulled the trigger on those multiple shots, and they tried to make it seem as if the young man had lunged at him and supported his position. But in reality, the video showed just the opposite, and they all ran for cover. Many of them resigned, and the reason they resigned is because they knew that they were next to possibly be indicted, and so submitting false reports and things of that nature. So it's very important that even if you're not trying to submit a false report, that your reports be accurate, because also a sharp attorney, defense attorney, which I'm very happy to say that I was classified as one of those, because I caught many officers, as I've been talking about all this class, with sloppy reports, and as a result, I took advantage of that as a basis for representing my client. And so if you're accurate, if your brevity and if your clarity is correct, then you're in good shape. Record the incidents on your report, and I'm pretty much referring to the narrative section here. Events as they occur chronologically. That's the key thing that we want to be able to read. We want to read it like it's rolling off. We weren't there. We want to be able to see the story portrayed so that we get a good picture about what really occurred there and what you observed. Even though you may not have been there when the incident occurred, but you'll be able to chronologically present how you gathered the information. And that's the key. That is the key. Underestimating the facts, overestimating the facts. Facts are based on what really happened. And I try to remind people again, as I just said a few minutes ago, people are watching you. People are watching you. And if your reports will contradict what really happened, for whatever reason, you're going to end up in hot water. You might be disciplined, you might be terminated, and then, as I said, you might even be prosecuted for submitting a false report. Include everything that's pertinent to a case. Now, here's the deal. If there is something that is important and you leave it out, it is kind of difficult for you to put it in your testimony in the trial, because a sharp attorney will come back and say, how long you've been an officer. They'll get you all pumped up in your qualifications, and then they say, well, isn't it a fact that such and such a thing happened, or did such a thing happen? And you'll say, well, yeah, it happened. Could you show me in your report where that's mentioned? Well, I left it out. You're starting to look unprofessional. You're creating yourself in a bad situation for the prosecution in terms of helping them meet their burden. So make sure you include everything that is pertinent to the case, okay? Proof your work. Proof it before you submit it. And oftentimes I tell my students that when you're preparing police reports, remember your field reports are while you're out, but you get back to the station or wherever you prepare your reports, then you're going to be able to sit down. And more than likely now they're using laptops, computers, and so forth to get these reports typed up. But you want to make sure that you have correct spelling, your grammar is good. You want to make sure that you have read it over, made sure that you had the right dates. Like I said before, I remember talking early in the quarter, there is no April 31st. And the point I'm just saying is make sure that you have the right information, the right year in there, and all that kind of stuff. Make sure the time that you have is accurate. If it's happened in the PM, make sure that you have, if you're using military time, which a lot of times they do, but a lot of times now they're getting away from military time, and the reason for that is because jurors don't all understand military time. And so as a result, you get to the point now that the older police officers speak in terms of military time, but many police officers now are being taught not to use that because the trier of fact, not the judge, but the jury may not understand it. So anyway, proof your work, making sure it's accurate before you submit it. Understand and follow the police report format, and that goes back to what I just talked about as far as your details on the police report and using the format that's given before you. You're going to discover that this is a prototype and that there are many departments that are different, but you'll have the same general steps that are involved there. And then all reports should be detailed and complete. That is why I said what I said with your incident field notes. I said, hey, make sure you have all of the stuff that are in our fact pattern, because when we gave you the fact pattern, and you can go back, you can even look at them again. The only thing is that what I try to remind students is, and a couple of students, and asked me if they could submit to me their field notes and let me look at them before the report, and I said, no, but the idea is that you can go back and you can look at them. It won't change your grade that you got, but what it will do is help you to get a better grade in your draft, and then ultimately your final report. So that's that. Now, I want to go to the 6 questions. Now, again, when we start talking about the 6 questions, the who, what, when, where, how, and why, we're talking about the narrative section. And these 6 questions need to be answered in a chronological form. Again, just to share with you again, another illustration of what we're talking about here. I'm opening up this one. This is a sample narrative. Now, here's something I want to tell you. I don't like this narrative. And the reason why I don't like this narrative is because, okay, it gives the answer to the 6 questions, but it needs to be broken up into paragraphs because it's easier to follow. As you're going through here, you're going to have to, you can read and you can get mixed up along the way. But get into the habit of writing your narrative in paragraphs. I say it all the time to students because, and I don't deduct points, but I'm saying it makes it easier for you to follow. So if we're like reading on January 9, 2008, and look at this one, see this one has 17, 15 hours. So then somebody has to stop and think, okay, what is 17, 15 hours? But the point of the matter is that this is the way that a lot of them are written. Some, like I said, some departments still do it, but I've seen many that are starting to get away from it. And then, so at 17, 15 hours, and let's see, I think 17, 15 hours is that, let me see, I'm thinking at the top of my head, is that 5:15? 5:15, yep. So 5:15 p.m., and then this is 5:30 p.m. So, I mean, like I said again, it gives you a little bit more work that you have to do. And then you talk about who you met and so forth and so on, So you want to break this up into paragraphs. It makes it easier to follow, okay? And actually, this is a little sample. When I see your narratives, I want to see them in more detail than this because there are more facts involved in this. This is just a sample of what a narrative is to show you you know, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how, and all of it. And it's how it's chronologically, if you know, it's going all the way down. Okay. Now let's get out of that. Get back to the questions. Okay. So now one of the things that's important is dealing with the who, and the who, as it says, involves the victims, the complainant, the witnesses, and suspects. So all of the human parties that are involved are the who's. And also, if there are other agencies involved at the time, the police, the fire, or some other agency, the feds might be involved, or whomever is involved there, indicated. You don't add that into your police report when you do it here. That's going to be given to you in the fact patterns if there is. And so anyway, but it's important that you have this information, because this is very, very important to start off, so that you can know who potential persons who could be called as witnesses. Now, the victim, of course. Now, in every one of these crimes, these issues, there's always a victim. The witnesses may be the victims, but then, like I said again, there may be more than one witness, and like I said, the fact pattern tells you don't add witnesses that don't exist. That when you do your report. Suspects, again, I already covered that. If after you looked at everything, your investigation, and it's not unusual for you not to have a suspect. That's what we call continuing investigation, to pursue the suspect. But sometimes you'll find situations where clearly someone has been named by a person as the person who committed the offense, by the complainant, or by the victim, or by some other witnesses to it. So the who's. The what happened? What kind of evidence did you recover? How did you recover that evidence? What agencies responded? What agencies need, for follow-up and so forth? The what is very important that you put that information in your report. Once again, it's going to be chronologically, and it's going to be based on information that's taken from the fact pattern, okay? When? Okay, that's easy. The time, we've already been looking at that. When did it happen? When you arrived there. You may not know the exact time the incident happened, but you can say that according to blah, 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 so the incident happened at such and such time. Very few people are going to be pinpointed on the time, but you are going to be pinpointed on the time that you arrived there and the time that you gathered a statement or some information or those kind of things. When did you contact the witnesses, the victims? When was the suspect apprehended? Again, going back to if there has not been one, you can't put that in there, okay? But that's giving you an idea about the whens. Where? Where did it take place? The location and those kinds of things. Where were the victims, the witnesses? Where did you see them? Where did they talk to you? Where were you? Where was the suspect apprehended? Notice it says, as applicable. Like I said again, if you don't have one, you don't want to make up one. How? How was the crime committed? What was it? Was there a weapon used? You're going to get that information from witnesses and from possibly the victim and so forth. What was taken? What kind of evidence was taken? Was a card stolen? Was a laptop stolen? Was the camera stolen? Those kind of things. And then, how was the crime reported? Who reported it, the individuals, and those kind of things. So the how. And then the final thing, and, this is the why. And we kind of dealt with that in discussion post this week, but it goes right to motive. Goes right to motive. And this is the only question that says where you have to do some guesswork, but it should be based on the facts. So now you're not going to, say, I believe such thing, but based on the interviews or the information that you've discovered, or either sometimes the person can tell you why the person did it, those kind of things. But the bottom line for motive in there is not so much to nail down something that will be of a fact, but to direct your further investigation. And those are the critical things that are important in your narrative. Any questions, any further clarification needed about any of those? Okay, very good. Okay, with that being the case, I'm going to leave this section here, and I'm going to go back into the classroom. So, do you have any further questions before we adjourn for the night? Anything you need? Any clarification? Any concerns you have? And I can address those now. Okay, good. Of course, so during the course of between now and Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, and again, I encourage students, especially with this assignment, get it out on time, because I'm going to take the week to, start going as I get them in, I'm going to start grading those. Usually I do those pretty fast. Because I know what I'm looking for. I am a professional at this one. I almost helped put the course together here in this area here, because being in law enforcement myself, I know what I'm looking for. And then, like I said again, that article, I can tell you, it doesn't hurt to, even if I read it before, look at it again. Use it as a checklist to check yourself off. And that's a part of reviewing your reports, because what happens is after a while, all those things become second nature. You'll be automatically programmed when you get to the narrative to include the chronological writings of the who, what, when, where, how, why, and those kinds of things. So, okay, well, with that, thank you, Bob, for coming out. You seem to be, I think you've been at every lecture, haven't you? Think you've been at all of them? Yeah. Okay. I always tell students that I appreciate that, and sometimes I'm tempted to put up a archive, but if I have one student who's committed to coming out, and then I'm committed to making sure that I help that student to be successful in the course, and that's what I do these for. And then if you see the archive later, yeah, you can get some stuff, but it's an opportunity to ask me something face-to-face without having to call me, or either at the time when you are about to prepare your report and all of that, you'll have all that already. So, all right, well, I'm going to say good night, and again, have a good evening, and I'm going to go back to grading papers. Okay, you're welcome. Good night.